Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today is the start of Season 2 of the Look-In series, the first episode of Season 2. If you don't remember, I did this last year at the end of the season. The Look-In series is basically something where I go through every team at the end of their season. I talk about, kind of recap their season, but also look into their future. What they can do in the draft, free agency, what the direction of the team is, everything surrounding that team. You know, kind of giving a little breakdown of each team at the end of each season. And today's the start of Season 2, Episode 1, the Detroit Pistons, who were also the first episode of last series, so that just shows how bad the Pistons are. We're going to get into them here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it, really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Link to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. The Detroit Pistons this year are most likely, they're going to finish with the worst record in the NBA. They officially haven't yet. I'm recording this middle Friday before the games start that night. So maybe with the Wizards, I don't know. They're going to have the worst record in the NBA. They are currently 13-67, and they're probably going to finish 13-69 potentially. They already have the worst record in teams, the most losses in team history, breaking the 1980 team that lost 66 games. But yeah, they've had a very, very bad season. A lot of turmoil this season. They were on a 28-game losing streak at one point. They've had 31 different players appear in a game for them. And they have just consistently been the worst team in the NBA for the second year in a row. Last year, they were the worst team in the NBA record-wise. They only won 17 games last year, and they're going to be worse this year, which is crazy to think about, that a 17-win team could get worse. But they did this season. If I could have some of their numbers, they have bottom 5 offense, bottom 5 defense, the second worst net rating. They've been very bad. Coming into this season, the expectations were to be better. I mean, you won 17 games last year, obviously. You know, Cade Cunningham missed most of last season, but he should be back. You know, guys like Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, and them taking another step. You bring in Asar Thompson. You have some decent players on your bench. The new coach, Monty Williams, who we thought can establish a culture here. And they weren't expected to be a playoff team, but they're expected to be better. You know, I expect them to be probably a 12, 13 seed. Still not great. Maybe like a close to 30 wins. Who knows? But still a very, a solid young team heading in the right direction. That was what this year should have been and what we expected the Pistons to be this year. But none of that happened. The injury bug was still hitting them. Some players didn't develop like we thought they were. Injuries happened. The Monty Williams as a coach did not establish a culture at all. And the team got worse than last season, which, again, a 17-win team getting worse, it should never happen, ever. But it did with the Detroit Pistons, and now there's some real questions about what's going to happen in the future for this Piston team. You know, I personally think the only two things that are concrete and safe right now in Detroit is Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. You know, and Asar Thompson kind of in there as well. Cade Cunningham this year, he had a really good year. People expected year 3 Cade, potential MIP. I think he was the favorite coming into the season to win MIP. You know, maybe All-Star. And he had a good year. He averaged 22, 4, and 7, 45, 35, 87% efficiency. Played in 62 games. Still dealt with a little bit of injury here and there. But Cade Cunningham was really good. He had some big moments, and he's showing that he's going to be a star in the league eventually. He is the building block for the Pistons' future. And then Jalen Duren. He averaged 13, 11, 2.5 assists, 62% shooting. He played in 61 games this year. He dealt with some injuries as well, unfortunately, but he is also going to be the center of the future for Detroit as well. Those are the only two really concrete, safe things going on in Detroit right now. And then you also have Asar Thompson as a rookie. He averaged 8, 6, 2 assists, a steal, almost a block. The efficiency was not there. You know, he played in 63 games. Unfortunately, he couldn't finish out his rookie year due to blood clots, but hopefully isn't going to be a huge problem in the future, and hopefully he can be back next season and play, because I think he's a really good piece to this team. Brings a lot of defensively. He probably was the best defensive player on the Pistons already as a rookie, at 21 years old. And then offensively, he can rebound the ball. He rebounds the ball super, super well for a wing. Really the only thing is about his shooting and scoring. He shot 18% from three this year and 59% from the free throw line. So he just has to be able to shoot the ball and score the ball better. But everything else he could do. He's a winning player. After that, though, it kind of gets really confusing on what this Detroit Pistons team could be. Jaden Ivey is a big thing. Jaden Ivey started the year coming off the bench. We didn't know Monty Williams really loved Jaden Ivey as a prospect. His minutes have kind of been very up and down. He only averaged his 28 minutes per game. But with Cade being out and stuff, he kind of had to start. Ivey, as of recently, he's been a whole lot better. As of recently, with Cade being out and stuff like that, since the start of March, he's averaging 16, 4. Not great efficiency, but he's had some big games. Had a couple 30-point games in there. Overall, in the entirety of the year, he averaged 15.5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 43, 34, 75 shooting splits, which is actually worse numbers than he did last year as a rookie, which is very interesting that a 21-year-old got worse statistically than last year. But again, that's kind of Monty Williams and all that stuff. And now his future is kind of in question, at least to me, of like, what's his future in Detroit? Is he going to be next to Cade still in terms of being a starter and having the Cade and Ivey dynamic duo backcourt where Cade could kind of be the guy that is the leader, but Jaden Ivey could be a secondary scorer, secondary playmaker, but Cade comes to the bench. Is Jaden Ivey going to be a six-man where he's going to just come off the bench, provide a lot of energy, which I think is going to be a solid role for him? Or is he even on the Pistons in the future? I think there's a real possibility in the world that Jaden Ivey is not a Piston for a whole lot more time already. If Detroit kind of, I don't want to say give up on him. Well, kind of give up on him, but just kind of feel like him and Cade can't work together or they don't, mesh, which is too early to say because they haven't played together a whole lot. Cade has missed a lot of time. They're still both only 21, 22 years old. And it's not like you're winning, you're trying to win games anytime soon in terms of being competitive in the playoffs and stuff. So they don't have to make the decision right now. But I don't know. With Detroit, you never know what's going to happen. And then after that, just got a lot of, who knows. They traded for Simone Fontecchio because they want to re-sign him and have him as a piece for this team at 28 years old. Okay. Isaiah Stewart probably won't be a Piston for that long, even though I really like Isaiah Stewart. His fit with Jalen Duren and stuff, I don't really know if it fits the team, and he just got paid. I like Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, their rookie this year out of Houston. If you went back, you can watch my draft stuff. I was a big fan of Marcus Sasser. He has some really nice moments, especially early on in the year. Killian Hayes is no longer a member on this team. He got waived. James Wiseman, okay. Quinn Grimes is something that hopefully we can look forward to seeing. He only played in 6 games with the Pistons and shot 21% from the field and 14% from 3 in his 6 games, but he's been dealing with injuries. So hopefully that's a piece maybe for the future, at 23 years old, that he can kind of show some things that he showed in New York and maybe show some more scoring ability and breakout potential. I think that's really nice for Detroit. But there's not really that much to hang on to with this Piston team, and Monty Williams, his job has been called for a whole lot. He signed a 6-year, $58.5 million contract in the offseason last year. And he still has 5 more years left, and he has 2 team options after that potentially could be worth an 8-year, $100 million deal. Yet, he might not survive 1 year in Detroit. Is he going to get fired? Honestly, I don't think he'll get fired this offseason. I think they'll give it another year, and you'd spend $58 million on a head coach. You gave him one of the biggest coaching contracts in NBA history. You can't just kind of bow out after 1 year. That's going to look really bad on your organization. So they're not going to do that yet. But if next year some things don't happen, he definitely will be out the door. The draft picks, they have their own pick this year, which is probably going to be, right now, they're projected to have the number 1 pick in the draft, again, for the second time in, 3 years? They're going to have the number 1 overall pick, where they selected K back in 21, and then this year will be 24, actually. So second time in, 4 years, they're going to have the number 1 overall pick, which says a lot about how bad this team is. And with that number 1 overall pick, Alex Sarr right now looks like he potentially is going to be the number 1 overall pick out of France. a guy that can do a lot of things on the defensive end. Offensively, he's a 7-1 forward. Maybe he might be a better fit next to Duran than Isaiah Stewart is. He can bring a lot on the defensive end. And then offensively, he has a little bit of skill to unlock. I think he'll be a nice fit. Zachary Recycher, another guy from overseas, 6'9", big shooter. That will really help their spacing because the Pistons' spacing is horrible. So maybe they get him and put him there. But being the worst team the last 2 years, do you really go with that as a number one? Well, I could kind of see it because Cade Cunningham is kind of already your building block of the future, and you have Jalen Duren. So maybe you don't have to go for Alex Sarr, but I think Alex Sarr would be the right pick for this Piston team. I think it's Sarr or Recycher for Detroit. I think it's one of those two guys. Topic, we already have Cade and Jaden Ivey. You're going to draft another guard like the Sacramento Kings did a couple years ago? I don't think so. I don't think you need a big. You already have Jalen Duren. I think Alex Sarr or Zachary Recycher, which I don't even know if that's how you pronounce his last name, but that's how I think it might sound. But those two, I think, are your options if you land the number one overall pick. But there's a chance that this team can win 13 games and get the number 3 or number 4 pick. But the good thing is in this year's draft that there's not really any locks in terms of this is going to be the number 1 pick, this is going to be the number 2, all this stuff. It's kind of like every team kind of can go different ways, and I can see it going different ways. So maybe they still could get their guy at 3 or 4 if they drop that low, So, and they also have a second-round pick from the Knicks, unprotected. It's going to be like the 51st overall pick, though, so who really knows? And then we look forward to free agency. Free agency, they have a couple guys out the door. Looking at their free agency, Evan Fournier will be on a team option who they're not going to bring him back. I mean, they just kind of got him just to have just for salary filler. He'll not be on the team probably. James Wiseman is a restricted free agent. Are they going to really try to bring him back? Maybe if no one buys into him, maybe. Malachi Flynn, who had a 50-point game this year for Detroit, and since then is probably averaging 3 points per game. He's a restricted free agent. Are they going to bring him back and see after the 50-point game? Maybe he has potential. Simone Fontecchio probably is going to be back on the team. They're probably going to re-sign him. Then after that, Stanley Umude, Chimezi Metu, Jared Rhoden, who knows what this team does. But one of the good things about Detroit, and looking at their future, is they're going to have projected about $73 million in cap space. So they made a lot of those trade deadline moves and stuff to get some cap, to clear up some money for this offseason. The thing is, this offseason isn't fully loaded with like star talent, and even if it was, who's going to Detroit? Like it's not like they're getting LeBron or Kevin Durant or anything like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Detroit does this offseason. I think their plan should be to sign some veteran guys that can space the floor and guys that can be mentors, kind of like what Houston did. Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, I think those are 2 perfect picks for Houston. I think Detroit needs to do something like that. Detroit needs some more spacing. They need some veteran guys that know the role as to space the floor, shoot the ball, and some depth as well. They need that, really. And they have potential to throw bags at some players, some veteran players maybe can help. Tobias Harris maybe could be a name. If he doesn't go back to Philly and Philly uses money to go get Paul George or something like that, and Tobias is kind of the odd man out, I could see Detroit going after Tobias Harris just as a veteran guy. Maybe you put him at the 3. If you draft Alex Sarr, you put Tobias at the 3, kind of have a veteran leader in there that knows how to win games, can help relieve some pressure off Cade and Ivy and them. I could see that. There's a couple other vets I could see them going out, landing, getting to kind of help this team, because this team really needs to win. Troy Weaver, the management, at first, when they first came in, they were doing great things. But last year was a disaster. This season was a disaster for them. They went fully back. Like, if you remember, last year, my first ever looking video was with the Pistons because they were the worst team. And the video title was, is it time for Detroit to take the next step? Is it time for Detroit to take the next step in terms of, all right, we don't have to draft high anymore. We don't have to tank to lose to only win 19 games anymore. We have some more guys. Now we can go to the next level in terms of let's get them some veteran guys. Let's help them build a team chemistry and win some games. Not saying make the playoffs. Not saying be a 40-win team. None of that. just saying taking the next steps in terms of, all right, this team has a future and look a little bit competitive. You know, kind of like maybe what Houston did this year in a sense, not as great as Houston did, but something in that similar vein to what the Rockets did this year. That was what I thought was supposed to happen. That's what was supposed to happen this year. But instead, they got worse. Like, I can't even. It's still crazy. They got worse. With Cade Cunningham back, after losing. You're winning 17 games last year and you get worse? Like, Troy Weaver has a lot in his hands right now. Troy Weaver needs to do something with this team. You know, and he has not had the greatest tenure the last year with the trades they made with Bojan Bogdanovic, how they could have really sold his value high, but they didn't. We're waiting. They were on a 20-game losing streak and saying, let's wait till Bojan Bogdanovic and Monte Morris come back. Like, Bojan Bogdanovic and Monte Morris are Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Like, what are they going to do to help this team? You know, and then you trade them. You traded them. You said wait till they come back. They're gonna make this team better, and you traded them a month later. Like, what are we doing here? So the management. When I said no one else is safe, the management, that goes for management as well. No one is safe in Detroit. Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, and maybe Ausar Thompson are the only three players, people in the Detroit system, in the Detroit Pistons organization, that this summer can just sit back and chill and just kick their feet up. You know, everybody else, players, coaches, staff, management, everybody else better be on their best behavior and better be doing whatever they can to help this team, because they could be gone like that, honestly. Like, this is bad. I'm sorry, Detroit fans, for this season. Just a horrible year for them. You know, honestly, midway through December, you could have stopped watching this Pistons team if you're a Pistons fan. We really could have, and I don't think anybody would really have blamed you for doing it. You know, and they're gonna finish with the worst record in team history. Just really bad for the Pistons, and they really need to get their stuff right. This offseason needs to be a good offseason. They need to make good, smart, effective moves, and let's win more than 20 games next season, Detroit. Let's win more than 20 games. Let's not go backwards again. Let's not stay here. Let's win more than 20 next year, right? You know, like, you can do 2022. They won 23 games in Cade Cunningham's rookie year. They can do. Let's get there. Let's get to 23 or 25-ish. Let's do that this season, Detroit. Let's do that. Let's not be in the teens in terms of wins again, because if they are, man, a lot. That's a whole nother bag of worms I'm not even gonna open. But yeah, this Pistons team has been very, very horrible, and they need a lot to go right for them. And the management needs to really come in and do something with this team. They cannot keep staying in this realm again. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you enjoyed the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. We are back with the look-in. I'm super excited for season 2, so be on the lookout for every single team. First, we're doing the teams that didn't make the playoffs / play-in. Those are going to be videos of 2 by the day, so we're going to have a lot of content for you. And then as teams lose in the playoffs and play-in, then we're going to get their videos out. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Join the membership, and yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.